Welcome to this project. In this project, you are going to build a URL shortener in Go. So I have my project folder already created. So I'm in it with VS Code. Good. So now I will initialize the project. So I'll open my terminal. Then I will do Go mode init. Then the name of my project. Good. So we will do Go mode init. Then the name of our project folder where our project will be. So that is go dash URL shortener. Okay, then we will do enter. Good, we have that in here exactly. So we are using Go version 1.24.4. Okay, so now let's go ahead and install the packages, that external packages that we'll be using. We'll be using the GORM framework, we'll be using the GORM. We'll install all of that. So let's continue and install the GORM framework. So we'll do go get -u, then github.com/gen gonic/gen. Then let's do enter. Then let's wait as it installs in our project. Good, we have our GORM framework installed. Powerful. So let me initialize our project with JIT, then we continue from there. Okay, so project, we just project setup, then we continue from there. Okay, with GIN. All right. Okay, so let's continue and install our GORM package as well. So we will do go get -u, then we will do gorm.io/gorm, like that. Okay, so let's install that one as well. Good, our GORM is also successfully installed. Now since we are going to, let me clear our terminal. Now since we are going to use MySQL for our database, we need to install the MySQL driver for the GORM. So when we are using the GORM package to handle our database relation, we can use SQLite, we can use Postgre, we can use MySQL and all that. But in this project, we are going to use MySQL. So with the GORM package, you have to install the MySQL driver specifically. So we also do go get, then -u, then we will do the gorm.io/ the driver. So in this case, MySQL. Good, then we have to install that one also as well. Good, we have that one also installed perfectly. Okay, so now we jump into our project, then we will start with our project structure and all that. So we will have our configuration file. So in our project, we will create a folder called config. Okay, so inside that we will have our config.go file. Config.go file. So basically this config.go file is what will handle all our configuration, our database and our app configurations. Exactly. So now we will then initialize our config directory as a module. So we will do package, then config, like that. Okay, good. Now we have initialized it. then we can now go ahead and then continue with our code inside the configuration. So we will import several packages that we'll be using, but let's continue, and those packages will come in automatically for us. So now we will begin with declaring a variable for the GORM package. So we will do a global variable called db. So this db will be our variable that will hold the GORM package, the pointer to the GORM package, so that we can actually access the GORM package and use it to connect to our database. Basically that. So this will be an instance of the pointer of our GORM db. So this db is actually a method in the GORM package that we are going to use. Now the reason we are having an error here is because we have not imported the GORM package we installed in this configuration file over here. So we can check it briefly and see if we can auto import it. Okay. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, we have that here, quick fix. Okay, so okay, I think the quick fix is not okay. Then let's manually import that ourselves. Okay, so we will do import, then we will factor, because we are going to import several packages, so we can do it this way and bring in all of them. So we now bring in our GORM package over here from gorm.io/GORM. So that is that. So the error should be dealt with. Now we continue with creating our function, and this particular function is going to handle the connection to our database. Basically that. So we will have our func, then we will call this function connect db. So basically this is the function that is going to help us to connect to our database. Good. Then we will enter into our function, then we will create a variable called dsn, and we will say that this variable is actually the variable going to hold the connection to our database. So we will specifically enter a string which GORM package will understand and help us connect to our database. Exactly that. So it will be a string, and inside it we will first of all write the name, the username of our database. So so basically like that. So let me do it this way for you to understand. Good. Then we will bring in a column, then it will follow with the password of the database. Then we will do at TCP, the protocol being used. So this will be the address of our database. So 127, because it's a local host, so 127.0.0.1, and for my SQL database the port is by default 3306. Exactly that. Then we will continue with our URL db, that is the name of the database that we are going to use. So we will do slash the name of the db. Okay, so let me do it like this, name of the db. Then it will now follow with some query parameters, for example the character set that the database will be using, and you will set that one to utf-8, sorry, utf-8 mb4. Then we will also add the pass time also to it, and you will see that the pass time will be true. Basically that. Then you will see that the location will also be, is supposed to be small l, so the location will also be local. Good. On our machine. Basically, this is the string that GORM is going to read to connect to our database. So as we see it over here, so the first variable over here in our connection string is the username, which is the database username. So in our case, our database username is root. So we will do our root, then we will do our password. But since my local database, I don't have a password for it, so we will leave that one blank. Then the name of the database that we will create for this particular project, we will do URL underscore DB, which I've not yet created yet. So we will go straight forward and go and create that database so that we can connect to it. Good. Okay, so let's go inside our database management system. So I'm using PHP my admin. Then let's create our database name. So in this case, URL underscore DB. Okay, good. So now let's go inside. Okay, I have my PHP my admin over here. So now let's connect it and then create our database inside and then continue from there. Good. It is open. Now let's come to databases over here. Then we will create a new database over here and we call it URL underscore DB. Then let's hit on create. Now we have it created. Now this is inside our database URL underscore DB. We don't have anything yet inside. So now let's go back to our code and continue. Then we will be able to take it from there and all our data will be stored in the database that we just created. So now inside our connect DB function, we will do a declaration of an error instance, which we are going to use to basically monitor as we connect to our database. So in connection to our database, best practice wise, we have to check if in the course of connection an error occur, then we will be able to track the error and then log it. Basically that. So we will do var, then we will call it err for the error, and it will be an error that we are going to use it to check. Good. Then we will do db, so db, then in case there is an error we will bring it over in here. Then we will say the db is going to, this db is basically this db that we initially our global variable that we declared over here. So we are using that one. It is an instance of the GORM DB. So we are using it to connect to our database on our PHP my admin. You see that? So it will be equal to the GORM. We will bring in the GORM, then we will do open. So there is a method in the GORM called open method. So it is actually going to open the connection for us to actually connect to our database. So in the open method, you have to specify inside the method which kind of database we are using, whether MySQL or SQLite or Postgre. In our case, we are using MySQL. So inside the open method, we will do MySQL dot open. So we are going to open my SQL connection, and there is this open method also in the MySQL. We are having an error over here because we have not imported the MySQL driver we installed. So this MySQL is coming from the driver we installed earlier on. So we can basically come in here and do the importation of our MySQL driver. So it will be driver slash MySQL. Good. Exactly. And few seconds that error should be dealt with. Now we are opening it and we are inside the MySQL driver and the open method. We are going to specify that which connection are we actually opening. and what are the credentials, and that is what we stored in over here in the DSN variable, all of that. So we will bring in this variable inside over here, so it will use that and connect to our database. So we will bring it in over here, DSN. Good. Now we see our MySQL error is gone and our DSN is also gone. The error over here, now we are using it, so it's gone. Good. So now we will do, so the moment we close the open method for the MySQL driver, we will bring in comma, then we will bring in a pointer of our GORM configuration. So we will do a pointer of the GORM %, then we will bring in our GORM, then dot config, like this. Then after that, we are going to check if an error occurred. That is the reason why we declared this ERR for the error checking. So we will bring it over here that in case in the course of the connection an error occurred. So we will do if any error occurred and that error is not nil. So this is how we do that. It's not nil. It's not nil means that there is actually a content, or there is actually an error. Okay, good. So we will then output it. If there is an error, we will log it. So we will bring in our log package, then we will do filter, then inside it we will print this failed to connect to our DB. You see that, and it is good to also print the error so that we will know what actually the problem is. So we will bring in comma, then the error that we declared over here. Now we are using it over here, so the error is gone. So this is actually helping us to check if in the course of connecting to our database over here an error occurred, then we will be able to catch it over here. As simple as that. So now if there is no error, it is good for us to also print to the console that the connection was successful. So we will bring in our FMT package for printing our messages. So we will bring in that print line method inside. Then we will do database connected successfully. So let's do that, database connected successfully. Okay, as simple as that. Then we are good to go. We are having this error because our format package is not imported yet. So now we see it over here. Add it into our import over here. Then we see it over here. So the error should be gone. Good. Now this is the function that handles our database connection. As simple as that. Good. Then we will now continue with the rest of the files that we will need. Now we are going to create our modules. So our module is actually um, what we will be migrating into our database. So any thing that we will be saving, for instance, we will be saving the URL that we will be the original URL that we'll be inputting, and we will also save the shortener that we are going to generate as well, and you will save all of that in our database. So the modules is what is going to help us get our database tables and all that. So we will first of all create a module, a directory in just right over here in our root directory. We will call it modules. Good. And in our modules, we are going to create url.go file. url.go file. So inside the url.go file, since it is in the modules directory, we have to first of all instantiate the modules folder over here as a module. You get that? Good. So we will do our package modules. Good. Then inside it we have a couple of packages we will import, but let's continue, and as we will need them we will see it being imported. Good. So first of all, the most important thing over here is to declare our URL struct. So that our URL struct will actually be our database table. So the tables that we are going to have over here in our database, inside over here, the tables, that is what in Go we will call them structs in our modules. So GORM is actually going to take that struct and migrate them as our tables. Exactly. So you do a type URL and you will see that it is a struct. You see that. Then we will declare all the table names that we should be having in our database. So all the parameters of that table or this URL struct. So first of all, we will have an ID. Okay, so as GORM will migrate it into our database, so every database table we will have an ID, and we will specify that this ID is going to be an integer. So we can do sign integer, okay, over here. Then we will continue and say the original. So let's say the URL that we are going to shorten, let's call it original. So the original column is what is going to handle or store all those initial URL before being shortened. So we will call it original URL. So let's do only original. Good. And we will specify that it is going to be a string. Good. Exactly like this. Then we also say that we are going to have the shortened form of the URL. So we call the column short to handle that for us. So we will do short like that. And we say that it is also going to be a string. Basically that. Then you will say the table should have a created at and an updated at and a deleted at for us. Good. So we will bring in created at column, and it is a table column that is going to hold the time the URL was shortened. So good. So we will say that it is going to be a column that is only going to hold the date and the time. So we will bring in a time package from Go. Go has this internal package called time, and that is going to help us. So inside that package, we have the time method that we are going to use. And because we have not yet imported that, we are having an error over here. Same applies to the deleted as and the updated as. So in case that URL is updated or is deleted, all the time and the date will also be recorded. So let's have the updated at also over here. Good. Then we also have our deleted at when it is deleted. Basically that. So let's import that package. Okay, we have that inside here and it should be fixed. Now, this is our struct that GORM is going to use to migrate into our database. Now, there are a few parameters that we are supposed to add to this struct to help GORM actually know what to do with this and to import or migrate them successfully into our database table. Good. So for the ID, we are going to tell GORM that this ID is actually when he is migrating into our database, this ID is going to be the column that will hold our primary key. So it is actually going to be our primary key. So we'll bring in our tilde, then we will say that GORM, then column, then we will declare a string inside here and we will say that primary key. So when GORM is migrating and gets here, you understand that, oh, the ID is supposed to be a primary key. basically that. So for the original column also as well, we will tell GORM that this is the column. It is not supposed to be null. So it means that this column should always have a value anytime there is an insertion into this table. So we also tell GORM that GORM, this column called original, should be not null every time. In this double quotation, we will tell GORM that it is not null, basically like this. The same thing applies to the short column. So we can basically copy that and bring that one in. But since every URL is going to have a unique shortened form, we have to tell GORM that this particular column called short in our database table, it is supposed to have unique values, meaning it shouldn't have a repeated values, else there will be confusion. So every URL should have a unique value. So we will tell GORM that. So inside the double quotation over here, we will add unique, and GORM will understand. We will add unique index. So unique, then the index like this. Okay, good. Then we will bring our semicolon over here. Good. So when GORM is migrating this into our table, it will make sure that every time the short column should be unique and also not null. Good. Then at the end, at the deleted at column, the created at is supposed to be time, updated at is supposed to be a time, then the deleted at is supposed to be a GORM dot deleted at. So in the GORM, we have this deleted at, and GORM will take care of that. So instead of the time, we will say GORM dot deleted at. You see that, and you tell GORM that this should be an index in our double quotation. Okay, like this. Let's bring in our quotation. I'll close it over here. Good. Now we are having this error because we are yet to import the GORM package also over here. So let's do a quick fix. We get it over here, then we import it as well, and that error should be gone. Powerful. Then let's continue and create a folder called utilities. We will call it utils, and inside it we will have our shortener.go, and this is the file that is going to basically does the generation of the unique shortcode for us. So inside our project over here, we will create a folder and we will call it utils. You see that? Good. And inside it we will have a folder, a file called shortener.go. So in our shortener.go file, we will have our module instantiated. So we will call our package utils over here. Good. Inside our shortener.go file, we will create a constant, we will declare a constant called character set, and basically the shortener code will pick from this character set. So this character set will basically be alphabet from A to Z, then numbers from 0 to 9. So our function that we will create to handle the creation of those codes will basically take random, create a unique code from this character set. So we will have this constant. So we will have this constant, we will call this constant character set. Then we will say that it is a string and it has this characters from 0 from A to Z, then 0 to 9. So like that. Good. Then we will continue and create a function that will initialize this. you see that. Okay, so we will have a func init, and we will enter inside it. Then we will bring this package. We will bring this package from Go call round. It's actually from the maths package. Then there is a package inside it called seed, and that is what is we are going to use to initialize the time and the Unix the Unix nano of the time that we are creating the code. You get that? So it will basically be like this. So round dot the seed, then inside this method called seed we will have the time dot now method in the time package. Then we will do the Unix nano method. We will bring that one inside over here. So we will go ahead and import these packages from Go, the round, then we will import the time also as well. Okay, now let's look at what is happening over here. Okay, let's hover over it and see. It says that the round.seed is deprecated. Okay, good. So now from Go 1.20, there is no reason to call the seed with a random value. Program that calls seed with a known value to get a specific sequence of results should use the new method, and we use the new source then the seed to obtain a local random generator. Good. Meaning we are not going to use this approach. We will have this character set, then we will let's create a variable and let's call it seeded round, and we are going to use this variable inside our generate code function, and that should fix it. So let's look at it how that should work. So we will have round dot the new method that we saw in the message, then inside the method we will have round dot new source over here. Okay, new source over here. Then inside that method we will have time dot now. Good. Then outside it we can now come and have our Unix nano. Okay, Unix nano method. Okay, good. So now we can go ahead and create our function for generating the shortcode for us for each URL. So let's call it generate short code. Generate short code. Then it is a function that is always going to take a parameter. So and that parameter we are going to take we are going to call it length. So it will be the original URL that we are going to pass it through inside over here, and we are taking the length of it, and we are going to specifically say that this should be an integer. So that will be the parameter that this function will be taking. Then we will do inside it over here. So this function is actually going to return something for us, which is the code, and that code is supposed to be a string. So in every Go function, if the function is returning something, we have to indicate that what that function is returning and the type. So in this case, we are going to say that the return from this function should be a string. So we'll write it over here like this. Good. Before we bring in our braces over here. Great. So inside this function, we are going to declare a variable and we'll call it b. b, and we are going to say that we are going to make this as an array, and we are going to say that it will be a byte, and based on the length that we are passing through inside it, we are going to create that. So we will loop through it. We are going to loop through it, and based on the character set that we have defined over here, we are going to generate the random code for that particular URL. Good. So beneath that, we are going to say that we are going to bring our for loop, and we are going to say that for I, and we declare it to be the range of the b variable that we have declared. And what this loop is going to do, that for each I, we are going to say that we will take the index of the b, so as I, and we are going to equate it to the character set that we have, the constant character set that we had over there. Then we are going to pass in the seeded round variable that we declared before over here. Good. So we are going to have that one inside it over here, inside it like that. Good. Then we will do int n, and we are going to pass in the length of the whole character set, and this is the method len. So this is the method we are going to use, and we are going to bring in the length of the whole character set. So we'll bring in the character set over here like that, character set constant that we have over in here, like this. Good. Then that will be inside the for loop. That should be inside it. So after that, we are going to return our code, which is the string of the b that we have over there. So now let's go inside and create our services. So basically we will have this folder called services, and inside it we will have a file called URL service.go, and basically this is going to handle all the creation and the storing of the short URL. You get that? So that is going to handle that. Good. So inside it over here, let's quickly have our folder called services like this. Then inside it, we will have our file called URL underscore service. So that is going to handle that for us. .go. So let's quickly initialize this directory. Good. Then let's create our function. So we will call that function create short URL like this. Good. And this function is going to take a parameter of the original URL that is coming in for us. So we will pass the original URL that we want to shorten into this function. So it is going to take the original, then we will say that that is a string for us. Good. And it is going to return the URL, which is an instance of the module that we created. And if there is any error that occurred, it should also come with it for us to catch it. So returning it, we are going to say models.url. Models.url. So this is the URL struct that is in the models over here. This is the URL. Good. So models.url, and if any error occurred, we should also bring that one in for us. Before then we can enter into our function and now proceed. So we will quickly create a short code variable over here, and let me do a camel case like this. Good. Then we will say that this variable is actually going to declare or use the shorten.go, the utils folder that we have over here. Inside the shorten.go, we created this function, generate shortcode. So this is what is going to help us create the shortcodes for us. So in our service.go, we are going to call that. So we are going to say that we need to access this generate shortcode from the shorten.go file in the utils folder. How are you going to? We are interested in getting this so that we will pass the length of the shortcode that we want for it to be generated for us. So in our URL underscore service.go file, the variable that we are declaring over here, we will call the utils directory. Then we will say that we are interested in the function called generate shortcode. So we will bring that one in, dot generate shortcode, like this. Okay, so that's the function. Let me spell the code very good. Now the reason we can bring it over here is because inside that over here we made the function name, the first letter, to be capital, and that is what helps us to be able to use it elsewhere in different files and all that. So we have that over here, and we are getting an error over here. We are getting an error also over here in the modules because we have basically not imported them inside here. So we can quickly bring that one inside over here. Good. So that's the modules directory that you have imported. We can also have to import the utils also as well over here. Good. Okay, good. Now we have that perfectly. Now if you can you can see this, we are having an error over here. It says not enough argument, because when we declare this function inside the utils shortener.go, we say that this function is taking a parameter called length. So which is supposed to be an integer, and that is the length of the shortcode that we want to have for each URL that we are going to shorten. So that function takes a parameter called length. So anywhere we use it, we are supposed to pass in a parameter for it. So that is why basically we are getting an error over here. So let's say that the length of the shortcode that we want is 6. So good. So, and that is an integer. Good. Now we can proceed and declare a variable called URL, and we are going to say that that is going to be an instance of the URL struct in the modules directory, like that. Good. And inside that we are going to have the original, and we are going to have the short form of it. So the original will be the original that is coming in over here. You get it? So here we are inputting, or we are inserting the original URL and the shortened form that you are going to get inside the URL database that we are created inside our database, the URL underscore DB. So basically that. So we are going to say that inside the database, the original column, it should take this parameter coming in over here inside the function. So it will be like this, the URL. If you take notice of it, that is the small o. Good. And we are going to say comma, then also the short part of the URL struct as well, and that is going to be the short code over here. After getting the short code, we will also store it along. Good. And that is going to be like that. Good. So we are having an error here because we are not used it. If you see, we have declared it, but it is not yet used. So we are going to use it. Good. So now we will create a variable called result, and that is going to utilize the DB that we created in the config. So when we come to the config.go, the DB that we have over here, you see the variable DB that we have over here, and inside the connect DB, we have it over here, and we are going to call this to actually store the URL for us. So in our result variable, we are going to call the config directory, and we are going to tell it that we want to access the variable DB, the global variable that we created over here. We want to access the global variable DB over here. So we enter into the config, then we say that we want that global variable DB. Then inside that global variable DB, which is an instance of the GORM package, there is a create method inside the GORM package you want to access to create our URL. So that's the create method, and inside it we are going to say that we are going to create this URL that we have created over here of the models.url instance, and we are going to point it to the pointer of it so that we can actually save it and save the memory of it inside our database. So we are going to use the pointer of the URL like that, and you see the error is gone. Good. We've not yet imported our config folder inside here as a package or as a model, so we can quickly do that as well and bring that one in. Good, we have it over there, and the error should go. Now finally, we are going to return. Now inside this function, when we started, we say that it is going to return the URL of the models, the URL struct of the model, and if any error as well, we should let it come along with it. So we are going to return that, and that is going to be return the URL. So this URL, which is an instance of the model, so that's the URL. We are going to return that, and as well we are going to return in case of creating the URL inside our database, if an error occurs, so we are going to return that. So results dot error, in case any error comes with it, we are going to return that as well. So that is that. So we are done with our create short URL function. Good. So we can continue and create our function that will get the original URL, and that is that which is going to find the original URL by the shortcode. So when we use the shortcode URL, we are supposed to get the original that we saved, and that is how basically URL shortener works. Okay, so straight way, so you have our function, and we are going to call that get original URL. Okay, good. And with that one, we are going to pass in the short code, and we will get the original URL, and it should work like that. Good. So you pass in the short code, and you call it short, and you say that it's a string. Good. And we are going to as well return the URL, which is going to be the instance, the struct from the models. Good, like this. And as well, if any error occurs with it, we should also catch it as well. Good, we get it over here. So now this is going to be the function that is going to handle when we use the shorten URL. This is the function that is going to help us get the corresponding or the appropriate original URL, and it should go to that like that. Good. Get original URL, so let's make it consistent, since here is supposed to be, we should make it all caps for the URL. Now good. Now inside this one, we will create a variable, and we will call it URL, and that should be an instance of the model's URL struct that we have. Good. Then we will go ahead and create and declare a variable called result, and with that one we are going to as well the same way use the db from the config, and in this case we use the create, but here we are going to use the where method. So it is going to look through the database table and get which column data has the same short that is coming in, and we will get the corresponding original URL like that. Good. So the same way we will have config.db, and in this case we are going to say where we are going to use the where method. So where the short code in the database table is actually the same as the short for that is coming in over here that we are looking for. Good. So we will say that for the short equal to question mark. So we are looking for the short in the database table. So if it is equal to the short that we are passing it over here, then we should get, if in case we find it, we should get the first one of it, okay, for the URL. So it will be the short like this, then we will bring in our first method to catch the first data that we will find. Good. And that should be a pointer of the URL to get everything of it like that. Good. So basically, basically what this means is that we are going to look through the short column in our database, and where we find the code equal to the code we are passing in as a parameter over here, we should get it. Okay, we should get it over here. So that's the first. Then we will have the first value that will be equal to the short code that is coming in over here. Then we will get that particular one. Good. Then we will return it over here. So we will return that URL, and if there is an error as well too, we will also do what? Return that, since in our function we are returning that as well. So good. So now we have that function clearly defined. Good. So we are going to do another folder called controller, and inside it we will have our URL controller.go, and that is what is going to handle the request payload for all the shortening URLs. So basically that is what is going to handle the request. Since we are using gin context, we are going to handle the request with that one. Yeah. So basically that. So let's go ahead and create our controller folder. So we call it controllers. Good. Like that. And inside it we will have URL dot URL underscore controller. URL underscore controller. So quickly inside it we will bring in our package controllers like that. Then we will create a struct called shorten request, and we will bring it in here. We will call this struct shorten request. So every request that is coming to come through using the GEN framework. Okay, so shorten request, and we will say that it is going to be a struct. Yeah. So inside that particular struct, we will say that it will have URL, and that should be a string, and we will bring in the JSON representation of it. So we'll do a backtick and we'll say JSON column, then inside the string with a string we will call it URL. So that is going to be it. Good. Then we will also have we also bind it as well. So after declaring or bringing in our JSON representation of it, we also bind it, and we said that it is required. So every request is binded to a URL. Basically that. Good. So after this one, you say binding, then we will do required, like that. So we will have another double quotation to end that, and we will have our back to closing that. Good. So let's remove this one from here now. Good. So we are going to have this function, and this particular function that we are going to create is what will handle the post request for shortening our URL. Then we also have another one which is going to get the original function. So we are going to have two functions over here in our controller, one for posting and one for getting. So posting means that we are going to insert the original URL and get the shortened URL from it. And another one is going to be a get request, which is going to get us the original URL using the short code that we will put in. Basically that. So that is what we are going to create now. So first, let's create our function, and we will call it shorten URL. Good. And it's going to take a parameter, and that parameter is going to be the gen context. So we will bring in a C representation of the gen context. So we will do a pointer of it over here. So we will bring in the gen dot context. So that is what is going to, this is from the gen framework, going to help us pass the request for us in this function. Good. Then we will enter into our function. Then inside our function, we will create a variable, and we will call that variable rec for request, and we will say that it is going to be an instance of the shorten request struct that we have over here, which will have a URL which is going to be a string. So that is that, like this. Good. Then we will go ahead and say that we are going to bind, we are going to do a JSON binding for that request, and in case an error occur, we will catch that error and we will return it. So we will say if error in binding our JSON. So we are going to use should bind JSON method from the gen context. So we will bring in our C representation over here representing the gen context, like that. Then we will do should bind JSON. Okay, we have it over here. Good. Should bind JSON, and we are going to pass in the pointer of the request that we have over here. Good. So we will do pointer of the request, like this. Good. So, and we will bring our semicolon. Then if error is not null, we should enter into it, and we should output that. So the gen context is going to help us get that, and it will be a JSON for us, like this. So we use the JSON method, and we will say that that particular request that was coming through with the HTTP, we will get that particular one, and we will say that if an error occur, we should use the status bad request method from the HTTP in the gen context. So we will use status bad request. Status bad, okay, we have it over here, status bad request, and we will then use the gene to display a message, and we will say that it was an error, and that should be in a string, that should be a string, it's an error, and that is a map actually. Good. So an error, and the value, the value, that's the key, the value should be URL. That will be the message, and we say that it is required. So in case URL was not passing and the person wants to just enter or pass an empty URL, you will get an error, and it should be say that URL is required. Okay, then we can now return it like that. Okay, good. Yeah, we are done with that one. Then we have to create a variable that will call the service to create the short URL. And if you remember carefully, we from the services we have the function called create short URL. We are going to utilize it, and we will create the shorten of it. So in our controller over here, we will create a variable called the shortened, and we will bring in an error if getting the shortened code an error occurred. So, and that will be the services where that function is from the services, and we have that over here. Good. The create short URL function, and it actually takes a parameter, and that parameter is the original URL. We see it over here. Good. It takes a parameter which is the original URL. So inside it over here, we are going to say that that original URL is actually the URL coming in from the request, HTTP request from the form that we will create. Good. So we will do a pointer of it. No, we will do. Let me bring in that method. Okay. We will say that it is going to be the request dot URL. Okay, good. And that is that. So the request dot URL. That is that one. And in creating the shorten request, the shorten URL from that function, if an error also occur, we should quickly catch that as well. So like that, it's not nil. We should also quickly catch that one too as well. So we will do from the C gen context, we will bring in our JSON like that, and inside it we also bring our HTTP since the request is via HTTP request. Good. So we will do our HTTP, and we'll bring in a method called status internal server error. Okay, so status internal server error. Okay, we have that one over here. Good. So that means that internally, if in creating the shortened code for the original URL an error occur, we should just quickly bring that one also in over here. Then using gen to output the map message for us to know what actually happened. So we will do a gen.h down. Inside it, we'll bring in our map, and we'll say that actually an error occurred, and that is the value. That is the value. Then that's the key. Then the value is failed to shorten URL, so it couldn't be successful. So that is what we will output. Then we will quickly return that. Then over here we will return. So it wasn't successful trying to shorten it. Good. Yeah. Then after that, if no error occur, we can then quickly use our gin context with our JSON and using the HTTP, you will check the status of the HTTP request. So if no error occur, meaning that the status code is okay. So this is the method in the HTTP called status okay, and we will check that one. If it is okay, meaning that if it is 200, we can then bring in our gin and output that, and you will see that the original is the shortened original and the short form is also the shortened dot short that we will have. So you will have the short, which will have the value of the shortened dot short. Then we will also have the original, which will be the shortened dot original, like that. Good. So from here, if it goes through, everything is successful, we will now have them like this. Good. Let's bring in come over here to deal with the error. Good. So now we are done with our shorten URL function. Good. So now we can now continue to create our get method. So this is actually will be a short a post method. So we will create a routes file that will handle all the routes. If it is a post, it will quickly pass it to this function. If it is a get request to get the original URL, it will also quickly pass it to the function we are going to create. Basically that's good. So let's proceed and create that function. So we will create that function and we will call it let's say redirect to the original. So redirect to the original. So if you have the shorten code and we want to get the original URL, so this is the function that will handle it, and it will be a get request from the route. Okay, good. So inside it, we will say that this is taking the gin context as our parameter. So we will do our C representation, then we will do the pointer of the gin context as well. Good. Then we will enter into it and we will declare a variable called short, and we will say that that will be a parameter from the gin context. So from the gin context, we say that c dot param, then we will say short, because we want to get we have the short, so we are going to get the original. Good. So like this, then we will have a variable URL, then we are going to get the original, but in case an error occur, so the ERR will handle that for us gracefully. So we will declare that, and you call the get original URL from the services. Okay, so this is what is going to help us get it. So that function. Good. So we will bring that one in over here, and it's from the services directory or the services folder. Then you will say dot get original URL. So that function. Good. And that particular function, we said that it takes a parameter called a short. Good. So we have to equally pass in a parameter for that, and that is the short variable that you have declared over here. So we will pass that one inside. So let's proceed and check if any error occurred, then we will just catch it. Good. So we will do if any error which is not nil, then we will do our gen C representation. Then with our JSON method, we will check the HTTP status code. So we will check it and we will say that status not found. Status not found. So we have that over here. Good. Status not found. Then we will bring in our error message like this. Okay, good. Then we will say it will be an error message as the value, and the key will be short URL is not found. So that was the error. So in checking the database, if we don't get it, we will just output that it was not found. We couldn't get it. It's not in the database. So short URL is not found, like that. Good. Great. So, and we'll then return it like this. Good. All right. So in the case where there is no error, then we will go ahead and we will do a redirection, and we will use a redirect method from the gin context. So you will say c dot redirect. So that is if we got the original URL using the short code. So we will do redirect, then we will bring in HTTP dot, then this one we will say status moved permanent. We get it over here. So status moved permanently, and this is where we are going, the URL dot the original. So that's the original URL. So good. So now everything is fine over here. Good. Then we will now go into our routes, create our route folder and our route file, and we will handle all the requests that will come through. And the gin context is what is going to handle all of that for us, for the post request and for the get request as well. So in our root directory, let's create our folder. Let's create our folder and call it route. Good. And inside it we will have our file called route.go. Good. Then we will quickly instantiate it. So we will bring in our package route, then we will create a function, and this function is going to handle all our routing for us. So we will call it setup route like this. Okay, we are using capital S so that it will be able to use anywhere else. Great. So setup router, let's call it like that, setup router. Let me spell it well over here. Good. Setup router. Then we will say that it is going to return a gin engine from the gin framework. So we will say the pointer of the gin engine. So that is what is going to help us handle all the routes. Good. And it is imported for us. Great. Then we enter into our function, and first of all we have to first start our server using the gin framework. So we will declare a variable called router, then we will say it will be gin default. So that from the GEN framework, we have the default method which starts our local server automatically. So the default method, that is what is going to start our server for us, and the application will get started. So first we will write a route to handle the post request and to handle the post request. So we will take that from the router variable that we have declared, where we are storing the server connection startup. So we will say router dot post, so meaning that that is a post request, and we say that any request that will come through, any post request that will come through and has the URL to be slash shorten like this, and it's supposed to be in a string, so we'll put it in double quotations. Good. A string like this. Then we will also pass in the function going to handle that post request. So in our controller, if you come here, we say that this is the function that is going to handle the post request for us, and it is going to shorten the original URL for us. So this is what we are going to get. So it is in the controllers folder. So back into the router routes.go. So we will say that for any post request coming in through with slash shorten, it should go to the controllers dot shorten URL, and that function over there will handle the shortening of the URL for us, and that is it. So let's import that folder over here as a module, and the error should be fixed. Good. Now let's also handle our get request as well. So we will also use the router and we will do get. So if we have the short code for the URL and we want to get the original URL, we will do a get request, and inside it as well we will have a string, and this will be the URL. We will say slash colon short like that, and we will also say that the function going to handle that for us is called, in the controllers it is called the redirect to original function for us. So we will also do the same thing. We will call our controllers dot redirect to original, and that is that. Good. Then we can now return our router like this. Good. And everything is fixed, because we are supposed to return the gen engine, and our router is actually getting that from the gen default, which is actually starting our server for us. Good. So basically that is that. So now lastly, we have to now create our main.go file. Our main.go file is the starting point or the entry of our project, or of our program. So the moment we run the program, the first file that is going to be saved is the main.go file. So that one, we don't put it in any folder for easy reference. So we just, on the root directory, we create a file and we call it main.go. Good. And that is going to be the entry of our project, so, or of our program. So we do package main like this. Good. And inside it we will create a function and we call it main, and inside it we will handle all the rest. So the first thing, that when the program or the software runs, we will first of all establish our database connection. You get that? And our database connection, we set it up in the configuration. If you come here, config.go, we had it over here, connect DB, and this is what starts our connection to our database and connect it for us successfully. Good. So that is what we are going to call. So in our main.go, we will come here and you will say config dot connect DB. We have it over here, and you will call it connect DB method, and that is what will connect our database for us. Then we will continue to auto migrate. If the connection is successful, we will then auto migrate our model over here, our model URL struct that we have over here. Then it will auto migrate it into our database for us. So let's handle that one also. So you will bring in our config dot the global variable that we have in the config dot go, the DB, and from it there is a method called auto migrate. Then we will use that auto migrate method, and inside it we will pass what we are auto migrating, and in this case we are auto migrating the URL struct in the modules. So inside it we will say that we are getting the pointer of that struct and migrate everything. Good. So we will do models dot URL, and it is a struct, so we bring that one braces over here. Good. Now we have to import our models inside here to fix that error over here. Good. Now it is fixed. Let's proceed. Now after auto migrating, then we can now go into our route dot go over here. We can now bring in our setup router to start our engine, our router over here, the gen default, which starts our server over here. So now we can now continue to bring that one in, and we will create a variable called R and store that inside it, and we will say route. We are calling that setup route function that we have in the route.go. So route dot setup router function. Good, like this, and that is what will start our server for us. So okay, it is automatically imported for us. Good. Now we can now do r.run, then we will do like this. So this is what will run and set up our server for us, and the default port is 8080. You can bring it in or you can just leave it like that, but if you want a different port to run the project, you can specifically set that one inside it over here. So you do double quotations, then you do column, then the default is 8080, but if you want to change it, you can change it over here. So nevertheless, if you don't bring it, the default will work, which is 8080, and we have that successful. Now let's run our project and see if everything runs smoothly. So let's run our program. Go run main.go, and let's see. Okay, our server is starting. Okay, we see it over here. Database connected successfully. All right, good. Let's check our database to see if the migration is happening. Okay, inside it, let's refresh it and see. Okay, our migration is not happening as we are expecting. Let's check it over here. They say that there's an error. Okay, probe test column of the short used in key specification without a key length. Good. So basically meaning if we come to our models over here, let's first stop our server. Okay, so if you come to our models url.go, we specify that the short column is supposed to be unique index, and it's not supposed to be now. By default, it is the type of that column is test. So from the error, meaning that we are supposed to declare the length, and in so doing we have to specify that the type of that column should be a varchar rather, not test. So we have to specifically tell GORM that this column should be a varchar, and the maximum length will since we are using only 6 characters, we can do 10 in this case. So let's specifically add that. So we can do type varchar, then let's do it 10 and bring a semicolon like this. So the not now, we don't need it. Good, and that should be fine. So let's try it again and see if everything will go through. Good. Let's run it again. Go run main.go. Okay, our server has started. Let's allow it. Okay, let's go into our database to see. Let's check the terminal also. Okay, database connected successfully. Creating an engine instance with the logger and recovery middleware already attached. Okay, let's check our database again to see what is happening. Okay, boom. We have our URLs migrated successfully. So we have the URLs table. When we go into it, let's see the columns. Good. Now we have the ID column, the original, the short, the created at, updated at, deleted at. So perfect. Our migration has been successful. So now let's open our and start a request, a post request with a URL and see how that works. So I'm using Tender client in VS Code. So it is over here, Tender client. And okay, so let me close this release note. Let me close all of this over here. Okay. Okay, so let me do a new request. So in this new request, we are going to do a post request in this case. And in this post request, we are going to send it to localhost 3000, right? Good. Then we will do, since we are doing it as JSON, we will pass it inside as JSON. So now let's handle that one. Okay, so our server is started over here. So as we indicated that in the route.go, for the post request, that it is /shorten. Good. So we have to make sure that it is /shorten. Okay, good. Then let's make sure that let's look at the headers. Okay, the authentication, everything is okay. So let's do the body and let's pass our JSON inside it. So we will see we are sending our URL, and our URL is actually https, and we are, let's say, youtube.com. Good. Now let's send that and see. Okay, the moment we send it, we get status 200, meaning that it was successful. And this is the short code for the original URL youtube.com. So we got this. So our program is performing as expected. So let's check our database if everything is fine inside. Let's check our database. Good. Now in our database we see it over here. So original URL is youtube.com. It is inserted, it powerful. Then the short is like this. Good. Now let's retrieve it. Now our method for the post is working perfectly. Let's retrieve it with our get method also to see if with the same short code we will get the youtube.com. You see that? Good. Whether the redirect will work as we did it in the code. So let's come back over here and let's do a get request. And the get request, we are going to do our JSON, and we will say short. So we will do, the code is SRDATJ. So we will copy that one. Good. Then we will come in over here and do the slash the code. Good. As we have it in the route, we will say that it will be slash the code, the short over here. Good. And the redirect to original function will handle that. So let's go back inside and see. So slash the code over here and let's hit the send. Okay, we are getting an error over here. So let's troubleshoot and see what is happening. Okay, so I think good. So because we had the JSON in the body, so now we, after clearing it, let's try it again and see. So it's a get method and we will do slash the short code that we had. So let's send it and see what we get. Okay, we are getting an error. Let's look at it. Oh, we are getting up SSL error. Let's remove the S from here. Good, since it's a local. Good, now let's send it and let's see. Good, now everything is working perfectly. Now we see we get status 200. Okay, meaning that it worked perfectly and everything was successful. Now let's bring this into our browser and see what happens. So in our browser, let's paste that over here. So localhost 8080 slash our code. Now let's hit enter and see. Good. Now you see it automatically redirects to youtube.com. Powerful. So our URL shortener is working perfectly. Good. Let's do another one. No, we are not doing another one. Let's do another one with a long URL and shorten it and let's see what we get. So let's take any random URL, let's say from Wikipedia. Let's get any random information and let's see. Okay, let me go to Wikibooks. Okay, let me do from here. Okay, good. Now we have Margot's Guide to Harry Potter. So let's save this URL. Good. Now let's copy that. So let's open over here and let's do a post request. Good. And we are sending it. We are using the slash shortened, and in our body we will do the URL, then the URL we copied from Wikipedia, right? Good. Then let's paste it over here. Good. Now let's do send. Now powerful, it has been successfully saved, and this is the code. If you check our database, Let's check it over here. Good. Now we see it. It has been saved over here. Good. Now let's check it whether that one also gets a redirection as we are expecting. So this is the code HHZMTA. So let's copy that and break that one over here. So let's do our HTTP. Good. And this time our code is HHZMTA. Okay, let me open a new place for us to. Okay, good. And let's see if this, after hitting enter, let's see if it redirects us to Wikipedia. Okay, so let's hit it. Powerful. It redirects us to Wikipedia. So our URL shortener is working perfectly. Thank you very much for watching this video to this time. Please, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, hit the like button, and the code will be in the video description. Thank you very much.